Welcome, my root erasers. I am so glad that you guys are here. Meghan Thomas and Jaime Weisberg, welcome to the No Name Podcast right now.
We're excited to be at the No Name Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here.
It's going to show itself at some point in time. I think it's just going to happen. But currently we're going with the No Name.
Perfect. I love it.
I love you guys. And I am so grateful for you guys to be here. And, I think when I initially planned on having you guys, it was really a lot about Root to Rise and entrepreneurship and women and all the things. But really over the last couple months, it's like I keep getting this thing of like our friendship and how incredible our friendship is. And I just want to shout it from the rooftops because I want women to be in collaboration in this community so badly. And so thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we just came off our 5th retreat on Saturday. What were your thoughts, guys, afterwards?
This was my favorite one so far. I just felt like we really hit a rhythm. We hit a rhythm. We were confident in it. We could hold that container of transformation. But there was just this energy between us and this energy of connection. And I know that we've said it from the start of these Root to Rise retreats is people are lonely and people want to be connected and they want to have these deep conversations, but they don't always feel like that's able to happen at a soccer game or in their daily lives. And we create space for that. And it's like people are so hungry for it, so thirsty for it. And when they get there, that we just see that and experience it.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to get them there because of that too. That was definitely evident this time around. I think that they see the pictures of Root to Rise and they see, our yoga mats and our meditation and our hands in the air and all of these things. And there might be a little, fear of what actually goes down. Jaime, do you want to share a little bit about what Root to Rise is?
Yeah, I think it's a feeling that people get when they're there. And yeah, I think it can be intimidating for people that don't identify as someone who does yoga or someone who is a retreat goer. I don't know. I think that can be an elusive thing. What happens there? And I really think when people come to the retreat, they might have an intention of what they are looking for, but I almost think it kind of finds them because there's an energy of the people that are there. There's an energy of a bunch of people choosing themselves for the day, especially people that have never chosen themselves for the day. And I think something just organically happens when a group of people choose themselves, come together, they're open, curious, and allow that process to unfold. And I just think there's a feeling about, I don't know, there's not one thing. I think there's a collective feeling and likely an individual feeling amongst each person that's there that just unfolds, and they feel a little different when they leave than when they came.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think they then are able to look back and be like, wow, I want this. I want more of this in my life. I'm missing this. I can see the magic of this.
But I don't think they know what they're missing until they feel it. That's
Agreed.
Kind of the hard thing to explain sometimes, because I think they know after they leave that feeling. I don't know that they know that they're missing this thing until they realized they didn't have it before they came.
Yep. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning, which really was 2 years ago. I say that So I feel like I had just started Safe Space. Well, a little bit. Yeah, I had just started Safe Space. Jaime, you had just were opening Northbound.
Yep.
Meg, you were doing your podcast. What else was going on at that time?
Doing more and more sound healing, more and more events in the community, feeling that pull. And Are we talking the origin story?
We're talking the origin story. We're going there.
So I was a guest teacher at a retreat, and because I was there at this retreat, I was also like a participant in it. It was like a 4 or 5 day retreat, and I was teaching, the middle of the retreat. And so I was having my own experiences, and very often when I create space for myself, intuitive thoughts and clarity and messages from the universe will come in. I feel like there's so many of these ideas floating around, and if we give ourselves space, we can hear them. And so I just heard this message of creating an affordable day retreat. Many of the retreats that I had been leading at that point were $2,000, $3,000, and not everyone could hit that price point. And I didn't want it to feel that way. And I wanted to be able to gather more people. I had no idea what it looked like. All I knew was a bigger retreat with more people and at a more affordable price point. And while I was at that retreat and got that download, it was clear that it was the two of you, which my intuition was like, really? These two?
Yeah. I mean, I think Jamie and I can say the same.
I think we both said the same. Yeah.
I think you and I had seen each other in person 2 times at that point. We had only met months before. And I was interviewing both of you on my podcast, and it wasn't like we were close friends. We just met, but the message was so clear. And if I could say anything, when you get these messages from your intuition, just listen to them. Like, this is one of the most beautiful experiences of me listening to my intuition, even when it made no sense. I had people in my life that I was doing events with that I was closer with at that time, but it was so clear that it was something about the two of you, and I didn't even know what that would look like. And so I called you both. And then what did you guys say?
We said no.
We said, no, thank you. No, we were like, well, think about it. But same, like I had met Jaime just in like passing at your birthday party, met you a couple times. We were smack dab and all of the endeavors that we were all doing. And you guys know, I struggled to believe you want me to run a retreat? Like I had so much lack of self-confidence in myself to be able to do that. And it's interesting because this weekend at the retreat, I had a woman come up to me and she's like, the magic that you three, like what you do up there together, how you play off of one another, how you support one another. She's like, you couldn't handpick that. And I think about that, like even you questioning in the moment, these two, like, like, it's like, yeah, these two, but it was like, yeah, like, it's like, they knew exactly what was happening. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so we said no, and then we said yes.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We said, let me think about it.
Right.
And then for me, it just eventually also was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm not sure why either. But yeah, I definitely got to a point where I knew I wanted to do it, even though I didn't have the time to do it. And yeah, it just felt right eventually. But yeah, at first we're both like, I don't know. My spirit guide didn't say anything.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I didn't get that intuitive hit too.
Yeah.
And then,
but you did get the intuitive hit that even though you were so busy that it was like something was still pulling you.
Oh, hands down. I couldn't say no to it.
Yeah.
And then introduce Vanderkamp into the mix. And once that was just like the finalization of it all. Mm-hmm. Like it was just such a stunning location and the energy of that space. And
wait, did either of you see Vanderkamp before the day of the retreat?
No, I mean, on the internet.
no, you're right.
I think that first one, you didn't get to see it until we were there.
No.
And just trusted
We just
in
trusted
it.
you.
We just trusted you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was clear that day. I guess I committed pretty hardcore at that point, though. There was no turning back. It was done.
It was going to start in 5 minutes.
It was going to, right. So all of a sudden we have 85 men and women that sign up for this one-day retreat. And I remember people piling in and us being like, okay, like it's game time. Like this is game time. And being so unbelievably nervous, but just already at that point, trusting in the two of you and just knowing that we had it. And retreats are something, Meg, you, I think, Jaime and I think have relied on you for a lot of the foundation, being like, okay, we're going to trust you in this because this is your area for sure. But you definitely bring the spiritual magic that is just in creating that safe space. And then Jaime is our scientist. So we actually have, Jaime likes to call us our off-brand Spice Girls.
I do.
I do love how you bring that up every Retrise. And so Jaime is our scientist, which I've never wanted to learn more science than from you. Like you bring this energy of humor and science, and
She makes it fun.
she makes it so fun.
Oh, thank you.
Like even I, like every time I've heard the same thing you say every time, right?
Right.
Even though it gets switched up, and I'm like listening intently and like, what's she gonna say next? Like,
Aw, thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
So, and then I am story spice.
Story spice.
So
yes.
I bring the stories and the heart and
really that deep piece of connection, which is so vital for the journey that we take people on. I think that's what retreats are all about, is where is this journey that we're taking you all day long? And that's the number one piece, is to arrive at that place of connection and helping people get there. And so you so beautifully bring that.
thanks, Fran. Yeah, I've had a lot of people be like, is there like a plan for the day? And I was like, goodness, is there a plan? Like we've carefully thought about this. Like, Meg, tell us, do you remember how we came to the 4-part series?
Well, I think it was past Jaime. So,
yeah, it was past Jaime.
Yeah. So our past selves can be brilliant. So our past self, Jaime, had previously named a candle Root to Rise. And so while we were trying to figure out what the name of this was, and we were going through all these different techniques and oracle cards and just connecting, and it was like, oh, this candle at her shop northbound.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was Root to Rise. And then the next part just really came from the energy we wanted to create with it, which was rooting and rising. So this rooting, this grounding energy, you have to be in your own body, connected to yourself before you can go anywhere else. So it's like that grounded energy. Then we do breath work, which brings us up. That's the rising that we experience. And it's a very brave and vulnerable journey. And then after that, we have a break for lunch, and it allows us to step into this place of connecting with others. So I feel like the breath work connects us so deeply to ourself. That's the rising. That's the like, let's clear out any of the junk, any of the limiting beliefs, any of these old stories we've been carrying around. Then we can connect with others. And once we're able to connect with others, this next piece, which I think probably almost everyone who creates a retreat wants to get to a point of connection, but I think we take ours to the next level by being seen and allowing people to really step into that energy of, what do I want to declare? What do I want to step into and own right now? Maybe it's a story they've never shared out loud and they're ready to let it go or take away some of the power. Or maybe they want to stand up and declare what's next for them. So allowing people to really be seen.
I know that's kind of one of my favorite parts. It's because the courage and the trust they build up throughout the whole entire day. And then it's like knocking on the door. It's like, and we had people do that on Saturday, right? Where they're like, this, I have to say this. I have to say this. I have to declare this. And it's so crazy how it's so hard for us to be seen, yet we all want to be seen, and it's also so hard to do. So yeah, there is definitely magic that unfolds. So yes, we put some thought to that.
And we leave room for magic. Every single one is very different from the next.
What are your favorite parts of the retreat?
I love just seeing little offshoots of people that didn't know each other. You know, at lunch, they might be sitting at a table, or they're walking through the hall, or they're sitting by the fire when it's not raining. That's one thing that happens every time we have root to rise is it rains. And
It does.
it's just part of the process. Root, rise, rain. Connect. So, yeah, I love seeing these new little connections and people feeling safer. They might have come and been really quiet at the beginning and just sitting on their mat and kind of looking around. So I love those little micro moments of connectivity. And I just love, I think I smile the whole time. We do a little closing circle. And by the time the closing circle ends, my face hurts because I'm just smiling at witnessing whatever people came looking for and reflecting that back to us, and just feeling so grateful and proud that we get to do that.
I know.
I mean, it really is a gift, and not just for the people that come, but for us, for sure. Yeah.
I totally can relate to that. Meg, what about you? Do you have a moment or a series?
Yeah, I think it's there's so many things. I think I love being witness to people's bravery, people's courage. It feels like such an honor, such a privilege that we get to do that people feel safe enough with us to do that. And there are so many moments throughout the day where I'm just in awe of both of you. And then that experience of us kind of in that, I would say, flow state where we hit this kind of energetic state as we're moving through the day. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to do this. And like we said, we didn't start out as best friends.
No.
We did not start there. And now that's, I mean, how many people not only get to work with their best friends, but celebrate each other and just be in awe of one another. And I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and a long time in Syracuse, almost 20 years. And this is something I've never experienced, other women celebrating other women in this way and truly, truly meaning it and sharing in that energy. And it feels like when you win, I win. And letting go of fear or scarcity mindset, like this I truly believe we're better together than we are apart. And what we're creating together is far more than what any of us would individually create on our own.
I completely agree. And that came up at the previous podcast with Stacy and Jenna about the cheering on. And I realized when I looked back at past friendships, that was such a vital piece that I didn't really know was missing. Either I monitored myself, or I would tell only half the story, or I'd feel it out and just give a few, or I just wouldn't share it all. And it's like to have someone celebrating your successes as well as being there when you were falling apart. Like it just is mind blowing. And I remember Jamie and I were sitting together when you were playing at the Wellness Expo, at the Longevity Wellness Expo a few weeks ago. And we were sitting next to each other, and I felt like we were your parents, because it was like, oh my God, do you see our girl? Like, do you see our girl? We were so excited for you. And it wasn't fake. It wasn't forced. It was this genuine, like she did it. She did it. Like, it's like it was happening to us, you know? And I see that every single time you guys are up in your magic too, when you stand up there, and I'm like, that's my girl. That's just, it's an incredible feeling. Like, not to be jealous, not to feel like you said, the scarcity mindset. There's so much room for all of us to be excelling and succeeding. And it just feels so good to be in that space. But I feel like we slowly dipped our toe into that sort of like relationship. And Jaime, you explained it so well on Saturday. Do you kind of want to talk about how we started that?
Sure. Yeah. The infamous voice memos.
I know.
Who knew that this part of technology would build such a deep friendship, and something that just really came along right. I think it was something that became popular right as we were starting the retreats and starting to talk more. And so we would originally just leave each other voice memos on that feature where you can record the message, send it, and then they can each listen on their own. And originally all the messages were very, work related. So something about the retreat or something about marketing the retreat. And then slowly they started to get a little more personal. And then sometimes they just were absolutely nothing about retreats. And then they became more and more just about us. But slowly they became more and more vulnerable, and to the point where sometimes, and I had never cried on a voice note to someone. I don't think I often allow myself to cry that way in front of other people in general. And we would start just opening up about all these things in our life and what we were going through. And then the next person would reflect back what they heard and offer support. And then sometimes one of us wasn't available, and this other person would pick up, and send a pep talk or love or some sort of whatever it is we were needing. And also just this verbal processing that I think we all probably verbally process, but to somebody that we started to just deeply trust. And it was almost like practicing taking that public, mask or kind of whatever we hold ourselves together. And we slowly started to take that off with each other. And then it got just to the point where we were literally, you don't even think about it anymore. I don't talk on those messages through a filter of there's no filter. There's no, is this going to be received? And I think it was this place where we started to practice this really authentic opening up of ourselves and knowing that these other people were going to love us and support us regardless of what we said. And I know, at least for me personally, I've always had some of that story in my head. Oh, that's too much. I don't know if that other person, if they're ready for that, or whatever that story had been. I just dropped it, and I was like, no, these people love me and I love them. And it just became this. And then I think we started to get more brave, and not that everybody can create that for us. I certainly don't say the things to the public that, we say in these messages. Right. And I think it's allowed us to practice opening up a little more, or saying things a little differently to the people in our lives that we want to be able to say things to, or even be brave in public settings, like sharing this story right now on the podcast. Right. It's been practice, but also just so refreshing. I mean, to be able to just speak without a little moderator in my head, it's just, and know that that person will reflect back and love me regardless, has been one of the most powerful, amazing experiences I've ever had.
I think it's that reflecting back, not even the reflecting back, the holding it, that is rewiring something in my brain. Where it's like, I have had my vulnerability, my sensitivities thrown back at me in so many different ways by the world and people and friends and family who just can't hold that. And to be able to share vulnerably with people that can not only hold it, but are not afraid of it. And I think one of the only people that could do that, where it was like therapists that I was paying to do that, where it was like, oh yeah, no, this can exist in friendship. And it has made me so much braver in my life. And in some ways, which I think is important to talk about, that when we're growing and expanding, there is a negative side of that we outgrow friendships, we outgrow relationships, and because we start to set a new standard for ourselves. And so since in the beginning, it was really hard for me, because I could feel myself letting go of some friendships that I had thought were really in my inner circle. And And when I was able to hold that space of, this is what I really want and need in a friendship, my boundaries, like I upped the level of what it was I desired in my life. But it's really hard to grow. People don't talk a lot about that side of growth and expansion, that sometimes there's moments of loneliness because you're in this kind of in-between state where maybe the next person hasn't gotten in your bus yet, but two people have just exited.
Yes. No, that's so beautifully put. It's like the void where you're trusting the letting go of these people. And if it, personally, abandonment or people pleasing or wanting everybody to be happy. And like that's hard for me to say. I'm giving up this relationship. And I think so much of what you guys did for me was you mirrored back what I wanted and what I needed. And you also were that voice of saying, as I brought things to you, you'd be like, no, Trace, like, that's not okay. Like you created a new norm of what I had deemed at one point normal. And so as I was continuing to grow and outgrow friendships and relationships, I now had this new standard of not just what I need in a friend, but what I need in a relationship too. Like that, I just think it was like, wow, this is possible. And when you've never been here before, you don't really realize that it's possible. And I remember, and it will be stamped in my head forever, the first time I was so highly triggered. And there's this part of me that will come out that is terrified, of certain situations. And she's, it's like this hyperventilation sort of part of me that when I get really triggered over specific things, and was going through a very trying time. And I remember just that part coming out on this voice message with you both. And I remember getting through the trigger, talking through it, and then being like, delete that. Like, you cannot send that, right? There was so much shame. There was so much embarrassment, like that there was still a part of me that could get that triggered and that sounded like that, because it doesn't sound like me. It sounds like a 5-year-old version of me, right? And I remember my heart was like beating outside of my chest, and no one had seen that, Tracy. No one. And I sent it. And I remember both of you responded in this empathetic, beautiful, vulnerable, I couldn't have written a better response that you both came to me with. And it just, from that point on, I was like, I can say anything to them. I can bring them anything. And I also see how, because I've got that trust in you guys, I've been able to go deeper within myself than I ever have been before. Yeah. So I'm just really grateful for that.
Me too.
Me 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's hard losing people, and then trying to explain that to people, or at least I feel the need. I have to explain it, but I guess you don't, right? I guess you don't have to explain it.
Not always. And I think our friendship hasn't come without flaws or challenging moments either. And so I always, I think sometimes being at Root to Rise, our 5th Root to Rise in, clearly there's so much chemistry between all of us. And we're like, yeah, you can have this in your friendships and relationships too. But what I've also learned is something that's been different for me that I've never had in relationships is when we've had moments where we have been triggered by one another, we've been able to not only state it, but then have it reflected back or held in such a compassionate way of curiosity, like, tell me more. Like, how did you feel? I'm really sorry I made you feel that way. What can we do to make it better? Like, I've never experienced that before, of being able to say, you disappointed me. And to all of us, I think, being very empathetic, very sensitive human beings, to say that not so much that you disappointed me, but I felt disappointed by an action, and to know that we could navigate that together.
I know.
It's so powerful.
I think that's huge. The periods of conflict, or like the triggers. And I think we can all know each other well enough now where we can see when certain things trigger us, and we're very attuned to each other's energy, where we know something is going on, but to feel safe enough to say that, and that trust that the other person's going to hold it without responding in some way, right? Blame, anger, whatever else. But I actually have never experienced that. So I agree with you. It's not all, I don't think we don't mean to paint something that it's not all like flowers and sunshine. Like we have our moments.
For sure. I mean, there's 3 of us. There's going to be like, that's like an extra number. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be things that come up between us. And I think just as important as we felt safe enough to say the things at times that have, that we have felt a feeling around, whether that's disappointment or upset or worry or whatever it was. But I know for me personally, I've felt safe enough to receive that, that, okay, this person feels this way about something I've said or done. And it doesn't trigger me so much that I go into defense or I go into blame, or I can go into just owning and feeling that, because I trust both of you so much that I know that we'll get through it. I think a lot of times if someone is saying something they're disappointed in you or whatever that experience is, you feel so triggered yourself that it's hard to even have a conversation or just move through that. And I think that the trust on both sides is why that can work, because we feel safe enough to say it to the other person, and we also feel safe enough to receive it and talk about it, because that's hard. I mean, nobody wants to disappoint anybody, and it's easy to want to think of a million reasons why it wasn't your fault, or, cast that off to something else. But to be able to just calmly talk through it in its imperfection, because it's also awkward, it's not like it's easy, it's not like we're like, oh, we're the most eloquent fighter,
conflict resolution
solvers. No, I mean, it's a little awkward and clunky, especially because we're not practiced at some of these things to actually say how we feel and actually talk through that. So it can be a little awkward, but I think we ultimately know that there's just so much love and trust that we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it goes without saying that when you surround yourself with people that like cheer you on and hold you accountable, and it levels you up in ways, and it's happening in all of our lives in so many different ways, that we're all in this period of transition and change. And it's like, in some way, I think we did it to ourselves, guys. We did it to ourselves, because we're like, we can no longer ignore these things in our lives that we've been ignoring or been putting aside, because we now have these people around us that are supporting us through it. And it's just becoming so much clearer. Do you guys agree with that?
I think I'm becoming more truthful, and I've thought of myself as this seeker of truth for such a long time, but there's another level that's happening by leaving the voice note. I think is so different than texting, actually, because you're processing in a way about when you're leaving these messages. So I feel more truthful saying these things, and then having the reflection back in some moments where you're like, well, I kind of saw this in there, where you both gently will be like, okay, can you look at it this way or that? And it's making me more truthful and more brave with my life and how I want to live it, and therefore continuing to just add new levels of boundaries and what it is I feel I deserve in my life. And like you said, it's happening in every area. It's happening in my marriage. It's happening in my friendship relationships. Boundaries are happening with my family in new and different ways. And I blame you guys often for those moments where I'm like,
we can hold it. Hey, we can hold
this is
it.
all
I'll
your
take
fault. This is all your fault.
I'm glad.
Yeah. And it's
glad it's our fault.
it is uncomfortable. And I feel I can be braver because I have both of you by my side.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I will never forget when the decision came to close Safe Space, and you guys sat right down next to me and processed the whole entire night with me. Yet you also held a mirror up to my face and said, you can't keep this up, Tracy. Like, we love you and you can't keep this up. And it's like those types of friends, like I went right back into isolation mode. I pulled myself back. I was canceled plans. I went back into what is safe for me when I'm going through moments like that. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't let me. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't let me. And you sat and listened to every excuse I had why I needed to keep it open and what it was doing. And you didn't judge and you didn't push, and you let me come to that decision all on my own, while also saying, like, you're not okay. And so, like, that is love. It's fine. I mean, I always thought love was something different. Like, that is love. Like, and just making that decision and knowing as a single mom, like I'm not doing it by myself. I know you guys are right there with me, that whatever comes next. And so, yeah, I blame you for that too. Blame you for that too. Thanks.
We'll also take that one.
we will hold that.
We'll
hold that space for you. Switching gears just a little bit. What attracted to you both to this type of work? And yeah, we haven't actually talked about what you guys do, but we can say that too.
That's all right. They can look it up.
What attracted? True, it's in the bio. What attracted you guys? What pulled you to this type of work?
Meg's looking at me. I think I always felt an urge to support other people. I wasn't always sure what that looked like. Growing up, people would always come to me with their secrets, their ideas. I just had a head full of, the secrets were hard because I had a head full of secrets, but I just always had people coming to me, and I always felt a sense that I could see things in other people that maybe they couldn't see in themselves. And I originally thought that would look like me becoming a therapist. And so I originally studied human development, developmental psychology, and I thought I'd go on to get a master's in social work or a PhD in psychology and become a clinical therapist. And I think that just wasn't the side of the science I was meant to. I'm also a deep empath. And as you guys see, when people are doing breath work and they're crying and I'm crying, because I just viscerally feel emotion at a level I can't really explain. So I feel their feelings when in breath work, and I'm trying to, I've recently got certified in Reiki, so I'm trying to give, Reiki and hold the space, and I'm probably like teardrops falling on their head during the process. So I found positive psychology as part of just this also internal seeker in me. I've always been interested in how our brains work and why we think the way we do and why we do what we do. And I would read these books and just for breakfast pretty much. And you guys have seen me. I love my
Harvard Business Review.
Yeah, good old Harvard HBR is
it's
always good that's a good lunchtime read. And I've just always been a seeker of knowledge, but I believe because I was meant to like disseminate it and through this compassionate lens and distill it and then give it back into whoever that I get to share that with. And I don't think that this quest for knowledge was for me. I always feel like the quest for knowledge and to learn all these things has been so I can see the best in other people, see what they're saying, and then reflect back and have tools and ideas and things that I can do to help. So I think I always felt that desire to help, but I've kind of grown and evolved into what that uniquely looked like for me, because nobody really does exactly what I do. So it's kind of its own thing. I mean, there's other practitioners of positive psychology, but I think each practitioner of positive psychology has a unique way that they kind of put that out into the world. So yeah, I think it was just that innate desire to help people, but in this capacity where if I was a therapist, I'm pretty sure I'd just be like, I'd be on the couch like crying with them. I'd be like, I know it's terrible, it's awful, like, you know, like I would just, but the other side of that science, I can still hold some of that pain while helping see like their strengths and how we can bring out this life that they want to live in a different way. So that's kind of how I got here, I guess. But I think I'm still evolving as I go. I always say that I couldn't see the path to where I am while I was on it. I can look back and see how I got here, but it's not very linear for what I do. And yeah, I kind of just keep letting that unravel as it goes. But yeah.
I didn't know any of that about you.
I know we keep, you guys always say that like there's something new.
It's like we don't even know her.
It's in her astrology.
Yes.
We're forever, and when we're 80 years old and living next to
drop
each other,
something and be like, we had no idea about that.
Yeah.
I know how to play the ukulele or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just chalk
Do you
that
know how
one
to
up.
play the ukulele?
A little bit. I play a guitar, so I can play a little bit.
Okay, I do remember
I can
that.
play things with strings. A little bit. I mean, I'm not an expert, but yes, I mean, I could probably play a ukulele.
Challenge accepted.
I'll try it out.
Try that out.
Yeah.
What about you, Meg?
Yeah, I love what she said about the path, and I don't think I could really see or understand the path, and now I have a better understanding. I think things started showing up for me in my physical body when I was very young, and, you know, in hospitals. And when I was 16, my first lung collapsed and I had this surgery. And I remember much later hearing, oh, the lungs, that's where we carry grief. And so I started like making this connection between the body parts and the way that things would physically show up. When I'm out of balance, it shows up in my physical body. I get sick, and it's one of the first things to like alert me that something is out of alignment. And I got to this place where I was really struggling with digestive issues, and I was on so much medication, and I was like, there has to be another way. This was in my early 20s. I had experienced a surgery that went very wrong, and I got to that place of prayer of like, I can't live the rest of my life this way. And that's when I was introduced to yoga, and I think that was the first thing to really save my life. And I didn't get trained in yoga because I wanted to be a teacher. I went there and I was like, I'm going to do this 10-month thing. I remember declaring it to the class, which is a very manifesting generator thing, which we all are, where we declare our things and then we change our minds like 5 minutes later. And so I was like, I am not here to be a teacher. I'm just here to figure out what this thing is and why it's working so well for me. And it allowed me to feel more grounded in my body and make different decisions. When I was practicing yoga, I also changed my diet, and it was a snowball effect of taking care of my body. And as things have continued to show up, I too have been one of those people that people have shared really, really hard truths and hard secrets with me that they've never shared with anyone else. They've never said out loud. And I started to be able to see ways that you could move things through the body. And if going to traditional therapy is like walking through the front door where you're conscious about it, doing breath work, doing meditation, yoga, these things, that's like climbing up like fire escape and coming in a side window. So you don't have to have a consciousness, and we don't have to sit here and keep talking about it over and over again, the same thing, and not getting anywhere. Some people go to therapy for 20 years and still be talking about the same thing. And I very much love my therapist and go every 2 weeks because it still works for me, but I have to do other things to move it through the body. And so first it came in the form of yoga, and then it came through breath work and leading retreats. And I feel most myself when I am leading a retreat. Like when I'm holding that energy, I have a group of people and I'm taking them on a journey, and I am not afraid of your darkest stuff. I'm not afraid to hold that, and it doesn't scare me. And I think that I can only get to that place because I keep facing my darkest stuff. I keep looking at it. I keep doing my own work. I don't think I've ever stopped doing my work since I really started, 10 years ago on that yogic journey. And is exhausting sometimes for people around me and people in my life, that I'm constantly, this is how I spend my free time, is not only doing these things for other people, but I go to a sound journey. I go to breath work. I have a Saturday off. I go to a breath work class. It's like, this is such a part of who I am and the container that I hold. And yeah. That's how it just keeps showing up, is like, we don't have to keep carrying these things, our stuck emotions and traumas and all of these things that get stuck in the body. I think so much of what people's ailments are in their physical body are emotional.
I agree.
I just think those are all pieces of it, and we need to do the work to let that go. And I wish people cared more about that, or looked at it that way, rather than it being this last resort of going to a doctor and getting a prescription. Like that, when we're at that point, we're so far gone from how can we actually continue moving these things. And I tell people, I'm like, you got to take the trash out every day, like in some form, whether it's physically moving your body, doing breathing exercises, meditating. There has to be something you're doing where you're taking the trash out every day.
Yeah. And I don't think you would have never gotten there, Meg, if you hadn't have gone through everything that you had gone through.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that, being the eating disorder recovery path I went down, and all of the meds, that it was like I was this petri dish of like, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this combo, that combo. And I remember just being like, nothing is working. Like nothing takes this away. Nothing makes me feel better. Nothing, like I'm numb. And I remember starting breath work, and at that point I was still on a handful of medications. And I remember leaving there with like this I don't know. I couldn't believe what just had happened. Mm-hmm. I didn't have words. I didn't have people around me to like filter it back, like what process, like what had just occurred. But I knew there had been nothing like that I'd ever experienced. And through the next 6 months of doing breath work, I gradually worked myself off all of my medications. Mm-hmm. I remember many people in my life were like, this is not a good thing, Tracy. You off your meds is not a good thing. And I was like, you have no idea. I'm experiencing joy now. I hadn't experienced joy in decades. I was put on meds at 12. And so it's like, they don't realize that a lot of that is, and I don't want to turn this into anything about medication. I know that each and every person is on their own journey with that. But for me, it was holding me back, and it was put in place as like a, this is what you'll be on for the rest of your life, instead of this is temporary to help you get through this point. And then we're going to work through it. We're going to process it. We're going to feel the emotions. We're going to feel it. That was never part of the plan.
And I needed it. Like there was a time when I was really struggling and had this horrific stomach surgery, and I needed this Cymbalta. Like I needed it to actually be the thing to just level me out until I could deal with the actual trauma that I experienced. So it has a place in it, but like you
100%.
said, it's like we don't need it to be, this is going to be forever and for always, and we're just going to keep upping it. Like that's the plan here.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, and I think that looks different for each and every one of us, and the goal is to try these different things out. But yes, I can relate so much to that. And then I think once I got a taste of it, it was like, people need to know about this. Like we have to share this. We have to. And I know for me, because I don't teach these modalities, for me, it's through my vulnerability of my story and the person I was and the person I am now, and the things that have happened to me and the things that I've done. Like I own it all. I am not a victim in any of it. And so I just think that when we all are able to open up a little bit more and more about those parts of ourselves and our past selves and who we're becoming, it just makes it okay for others on the same journey.
I think that's one of my favorite things of us at Root to Rise, in the way that we teach and approach sharing, is we're like, you guys, we don't have everything figured out. We're a mess right now too. Like we share, like here's where we're at in our lives. I think we need to be a little bit more leery of these teachers who sit on podiums and act like they have everything together, which I very much admire and love in all three of us, that we're approachable and that we sit at the same level in a circle together, and we're like, we're in this too. Like I almost didn't come, or I cried on my way here, or whatever the stories are. We're in that place of, like, we love our Ram Dass quote, like we're all just here walking each other home.
Yeah. Wow. I agree. Does that ever come where we feel like we know what we're doing? Like,
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
That we know what we're doing.
like I know we know what we're
We
doing.
know, we know what we're doing. I believe we all, because we trust in what we're doing. And I think we can do it while not doing it perfectly, or wanting to learn how to do it better, or not being in the place that we want to exactly be in. But I think one of the things, as we continue to do the retreats, as we each continue to do our own work in the world, I think we just build the trust in ourselves that in its imperfection, it'll still be perfectly as we can do it. It's a process. I don't think we're ever going to, and I think people appreciate that we're not, I think people would be uncomfortable if we weren't a little like awkward or weird, like whatever it is. Like if we don't goof off, or we make fun of each other, like not make, but like we'll pick on each other a little,
Right.
or
we like to say how sweaty I am.
we like to talk about, and they like to talk about how nerdy I am. Like, I feel like we all, yes. I mean, we all have something quirky about us, but I think we celebrate that in each other through that. And I think people are wanting to celebrate their uniqueness, because it just doesn't, there's not like one way this looks. And
do it sweaty. That's what I
Do
say.
it
That's my
sweaty.
motto in life.
Sweaty.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay. All right,
or
I'm just
do
gonna
it.
do it that way.
I mean, I remember Tracy, she literally said the first retreat, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like right on, like as we started, she's like, I don't know why you guys asked me to do this. I don't know what I have to offer. We could reflect back countless things of what you have to offer. I know when I did the first one, I had been working always with organizations. And so I've done retreats, but they had slides and they had, like questionnaires, and like, it was a different energy. And so I also questioned, do I have the right thing to bring to this space? And I actually remember our last when we did the Ascend and Elevate, and I said, I think I want to use some slides, even though that's not really what we normally do. I'm like, I think I like some of my slides and what that brings. And then you guys trusted in that. And we just keep co-creating this thing that's just a little, it wouldn't be one of us or two of us. it's just this thing that the three of us plus Vanderkamp plus the people in the room, we just create this thing, but it's not perfect. It's never perfect, but it's perfect.
But it's perfect.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I love that we go in there every time just not knowing and trusting and believing and the right people showing up and the right magic happening. And it makes every single retreat completely different. And I can look back at each one of them and like remember a specific moment that like I won't forget. So yeah. So we've got one more coming up in October that we've got so far in the books, October 25th, Vanderkamp. Tickets are on sale now. And then we will see where Root to Rise goes. Huh? Yeah. We're letting it sort of create the plan. What do both of you have coming up? What have the both of you? Where are you both mentally and like in this next phase?
I feel like that's a harder question.
That is probably the hardest question I've asked
so far. Yeah.
And you might not know.
Yeah. And that's okay. So I'm continuing to lead events at the Center for Sound and Ceremony, sound journeys and cacao ceremonies, and exploring all those different modalities and what that looks like. And also creating some of my own curriculum and teachings and sharing that with the world. And after 10 years of doing this, I finally feel like I have something to say, which is a really fun and exciting place to be, which I'm also, as an entrepreneur for 20 years, I'm writing a business plan for the first time. Like, and it just feels like I'm into this new energy and this new direction, which feels exciting and a little bit scary and a little bit vulnerable. And when I created my first business, I was 22 years old, and I think I just jumped in, and my cost of living was really low, and the bar, failure wasn't such a big deal. And now it's like, not that failure is a big deal, but I still have bills to pay.
Right.
And so it does feel different than other times when I've created or pivoted in my business.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I am not writing a business plan. Maybe I should. At the end of February, I made the tough decision, as you know, to close Northbound Mind and Body Shop, which was kind of an organic offshoot of my business that happened, where I had a physical storefront with products, services, and events to support well-being. And ultimately, I wasn't feeling well, and it's hard to sell well-being when you're not taking care of your own. So I made the tough choice to close that. And I got the ability to really double down and focus back on where I started, which is Northbound Coaching and Consulting and my work with organizations, which I have to say, when I first left corporate and came into this work, I was only going to do things for the public. I said, I don't want to deal with the red tape or be back in corporate. I needed a break. And what I realized, it wasn't that I didn't like the corporate space. I didn't like how I was showing up in the corporate space and what I was, the kind of the role I was playing. And so I've actually really grown to love I call it my business suit and Birkenstocks side of myself, where I get to blend all of these pieces and parts of me and share that in the workspace. And so I'm just continuing to do my work supporting employee well-being. I work with different organizations, from nonprofits to corporations to universities, and consulting, coaching, training, speaking, whatever they need that I can bring. That I think it's really needed in these spaces, and such a relief to people when I come in and talk about things like relationships and meaning and purpose and taking care of our mental health and all of these components of being our authentic selves and self-actualization in these spaces, where traditionally I think people feel like everything has to be about KPIs and metrics. And the beauty is that actually this work, not only do I think is morally imperative to take care of our employees' well-being, but it'll lead to all those other things at the end of the day. And it leads to profit and performance and retention. But let's just start with the humans first. And
Let's start with the humans.
So I love them continuing on in that work.
I love that. I love that. All right. So closing thoughts. First thing that pops in your head. Okay. What do you want to leave with the community watching?
I think you've got this one life here, and we need to be braver with it.
How quick you pulled that out.
Did she get that ahead of time?
She didn't. I might have texted her like this afternoon.
She did not.
I want to leave with just how vitally important relationships are to our mental, physical, spiritual health. Like relationships in each other and other people are the foundation for everything else. So just keep looking after your people.
And we will keep looking after each other.
We will.
Thank you so much for being here, girls.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it so much. We hope to see everybody October 25th at our Root to Rise. And until then, take care of yourself. And thank you again.
Thanks, friends.
We love you.
Love you.
Love you.